I remember feeling completely useless to society in a dating perspective and in a business perspective. And that was when I just graduated, when I was in a boarding school and I had no friends as well there, like barely friends. And so I had this one time even that started being bullied. Today we're gonna speak about vulnerable stuff, sex and money. This book I wanted to write already for a really long time, and I'm having a really creative idea of how I'm gonna write this book. I'm basically gonna do that with AI, but I'm gonna share all my personal stories. But this is gonna be very vulnerable because that's what I found that people connect to: vulnerable, authentic, real. And this is something I've been thinking about for such a long time. I've been finding women dating. I've been having sometimes 3 dates a day in Bali. There's a lot of dating culture there, and I managed to date models and like women that are so beautiful. I never imagined I could date them. And I come from a very humble background where I was completely worthless. I felt completely worthless. Maybe women would not understand that feeling, but a man, I think, can relate. When I was in high school or after high school, I felt completely useless, worthless to society, providing no value. But basically coming from no girls, nothing, to raising in value, understanding more, from thinking it's a waste of time to date and thinking women are a waste of time to feeling like a woman. That was a really funny experience. The first time I started hiring people, I felt like a woman. I felt like no one understands me and everyone is over promising things. I posted in a Filipino group where you can get people for $5 an hour. I got 50 messages back, 50 people who wanted to work with me or wanted the money. And everyone is, stop looking, I'm your best VA, I'm your best virtual assistant, I'm gonna be the best, I'm gonna be this. And it's all copy paste messages, and everyone is promising a lot of things. I hired some people, disappointing. No one is like doing really what they're promising. And then like women have this fear of once they sleep with someone, then those people will just disappear. And so the same thing you have when you pay someone, and then you have this fear of, oh, they will just disappear or they will not do what they promised to do. All right. We have the first question here that AI is, and that is, take me back to the lowest point. What was the exact moment you realized you had zero value with women and zero value in business? I remember feeling completely useless to society in a dating perspective and in a business perspective. And that was when I just graduated, when I just finished school, when I was outside of the system. And my whole life I was actually waiting to get out of school. Now, school for me was just looking at a clock. When they started telling me like, oh yeah, you can go to university or you can go to do other things like every other normal 18 years old guy would do, I was instantly out. I was like, I have nothing to do with society anymore. I just want to work and achieve my dreams. And back then my dreams were to be a DJ, to be a musician. And so the first thing I did is actually I moved to Amsterdam all alone. I just had an uncle here who gave me to sleep at his place for a while, and I had a grandma an hour away that gave me to sleep at her place as well. So I wasn't completely on the streets, but first thing I came here to do was to find a job, to see if I like it here and to try to find a job. And so I found a job as a waiter. Took a while, but I found a job as a waiter. And that's where I started making a little bit of money, minimum. I actually made $5 an hour. And the first job that I had was, I wasn't even hired. I was there for I think a week, and I didn't surpass that. And so I didn't even try, to be honest. Like I tried, but I didn't like, they wanted me to remember the menu. They wanted me to remember a lot of things, to know a lot of things about the food. They expected those things, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this for a long time. I'm just here so I can make a little bit of money and then be a DJ once. And I moved to Amsterdam to be a DJ actually too, because all the DJs are here. Or I wanted to be like Martin Garrix. I was a big fan of Martin Garrix. Tiesto, Blaster Jacks, which I managed to work with. The big EDM DJs. I was a big fan of that. And so moving to Amsterdam all alone, having no money, having no job, or if I had a job, they were about to fire me anytime. Having no friends, no social life at all. Also, people at the job itself, because I wasn't good at the job, they didn't respect me, right? They took me for granted. Like, I should have been better. That was a mistake. I shouldn't be good at what I do. But it was just like, for me, an in-between step. And so I got no respect at all. No friends, nothing. Nothing went on for me, and I felt completely useless. Especially as a teenager, I remember feeling also completely useless when I was in a boarding school, and I had no friends as well there. like barely friends. And so I had this one time even that started being bullied because I didn't know anything about at school. Like I didn't know anything about politics. They were asking me like, who's the president? I wouldn't know. Or who's the first president of the country? I wouldn't know. Who is like the president of other countries? I wouldn't know. What's the capital of other countries? I wouldn't know. Like I didn't know general things that you can Google. I wasn't interested in that. I was a complete nerd, but not in a school way nerd of like math or like being good boy in school. I had crazy ADHD where I couldn't concentrate at all in school. So the only thing that was interesting for me was how to DJ, how to make music. So I was all day spending on Ableton Live and Tractor and buying controllers and things like that to be able to DJ. I was not really good at it because I didn't understand people really so much. I was quite a nerd, too much of a nerd actually. So I was the school DJ, but sometimes when I put a bad song, then everyone would just leave and go to a party with, like I had the big DJ setup, the big speakers and all of that, and then they would go play in their rooms or in the common area with a smaller speaker because they could choose the music, right? And so I didn't understood what people wanted. Funny story is actually a few years later when I became much more social and understood people. DJ'd again because my brother organized a party and it was actually a really successful party. But then that was the first time people loved me as a DJ. And the biggest change I did was listen to the people. So when they come to you, they would ask, hey, can you play that? And I was like, okay, yeah, let me play that. And then I played that and then everyone was like, oh yeah, that's the song I asked for. And so they were super happy. But the funny thing is when you're a nerd and you're in the DJ scene, other DJs tell you like, never listen to what they say. They don't know what they want. Never listen to them. You should know what to play. And so I took this advice and that's why no one likes me as a DJ. Which, funny story, right? And yeah, anyway, I was a nerd. I was just obsessing over how to make music. I was all day in my room in the boarding school making music and I was good at that. But then I was really dumb at other things or really not good. So I got picked on and I got really bullied, and then that's where I lost all my friends for a whole year. Everything that my friends did was bully me with questions just to prove how stupid I am to other people. That's what they were doing when I was around them, so I tried to avoid all people. I tried to just lock myself in the shower, lock myself in the toilet, so I don't need to have any contact with my roommates. It was terrible because we had 4 people in my room. The 3 roommates all bullied me for not knowing, and they were like the king of the class, or not the king, like the biggest bully in the class or something like that. They're the strongest guys. They didn't beat me, but they were always showing how stupid I was because I didn't know who the president was of other countries or the capitals and all that information that I never cared about. I could just Google it. But yeah, so I didn't had any woman, as you can imagine. I had no value in the dating world. I had no value for women. I had no value in work. When I tried to DJ, which was my passion, people would leave and life wasn't as glorious. I had no friends. I had no reason to. That's how bad it was. I had no confidence. All my confidence just dropped. And quick background about me is that I was born in Amsterdam. My mother's from here. My father's French. When I was 6 years old, I had everything. The friends that I had there, I had 2 best friends, one girl, she was the queen of the class. One guy, he was also a really cool guy in the class. We were like the coolest group in the class. I had really good friends. I had really good confidence. I remember even kissing the teacher and everyone would laugh about it. And so I had everything. I had my family around me, friends, I had my confidence. And then my family decided to move to a new country. So in that new country, I didn't know the language. I didn't have any friends. My family just moved there. I had other brothers, so they didn't pay so much attention to me. So I was actually completely alone. And that's where I developed ADHD. Because I just lost, like the biggest thing I lost was my confidence because I didn't have any friends. And so I think my whole life till 27 years old was to rebuild my confidence again. There was a whole progress. And then Instagram, when my Instagram blew up, that's where my confidence started really. That's where I got, okay, this, what I'm doing is okay. I'm okay. I'm acceptable. People accept me. Yeah, so to answer the question, the lowest point for me was during high school where I had lost all my friends. I was completely bullied because I was not having social awareness and the king of the class or the strongest guy of the class of the school of my age bullied me, and he was my roommate, and I had 2 other roommates and they bullied me as well. They basically all the time that I was with them, they were asking me questions to make me look dumb. Who is the president of the neighbor country? Or who is the first president of ours? What is the capital of Italy? What's the capital of those countries? Like a lot of questions that most people would know. I didn't know. I didn't care about them. I was like, I can just Google it. Why should I invest in that? Yeah. And so every time after school I would come to my room with my roommates, I would try to hide in the shower and to take really long showers. And then they didn't respect me at all. And so I was just trying to avoid them. I wanted just to get in my room, go to sleep, and not talk to anyone, because if I would talk to them, they would just ask me stupid questions and then help them prove that I'm stupid, and they would prove me also that I'm stupid. So I started believing it as well. And so I lost completely all my confidence, and I was hiding in the toilet, hiding in the shower, trying to just avoid any communication with them. In the beginning, they were friends. I thought they were friends, and then they started seeing that I don't know those things. The more they got to know me, and then they just started like putting me down. That helped them with their confidence and helped them become more cool. There was one guy who didn't have confidence, so he picked on me as well, as in he bullied me as well with them because he had the power of them, and then it raised his status. So anyway, I lost all my confidence in myself. I was believing I was stupid, like the whole room, and then they proved to the whole class I was stupid, and so I believed I was stupid as well. I believed I was worthless. There was no meaning for life. There was no reason for me to live. Maybe I was a little bit suicidal. The only reason I had to live was music, to be honest. I just loved music. Loved listening to music. I loved Eminem back then. Loved Martin Garrix, EDM, all the biggest parties. I was just dreaming, fantasizing about being in these huge festivals and being the main character, the main guy who plays the music and makes everyone happy. That's all I wanted to do. It had nothing to do with politics. I hated politics, didn't care about politics, especially when it made me look so dumb that I don't know politics. Didn't care about borders. I just wanted people to be happy with music and connect with each other. And so also in the dating life, I had no value at all. That's something that I think women have a harder time understanding men more, because a man can just have no value at all. Like zero value in the market. Like women always have value, because I've read a whole book about it. Evolution of Desire, I think it's called. And it's speaking about the biology, and it speaks basically that women are always more valuable because they have one egg and men have millions of sperms all the time. And so one egg competing with millions of sperm, there's a disbalance there. So women are always more valuable because men want to make, like if there was only one woman alive and all men, there will be a big problem. We would collapse. There will be no more kids. But if there will be only one man and millions of women, there will be no problem, because all of them can get pregnant and the men can handle all of that. Probably it will take them time, and so that's why women are always more valuable. Well, people always see women as valuable. That's why we chase them as men, right? Or we pursue them, right? They attract us, we pursue them. We are the chasers. So I remember even speaking to one girl that was there in school, and she was suicidal. She was thinking about killing herself, and she realized that when she was in group setting, and she just left and no one cared, no one noticed. And yeah, I don't know exactly what was that, but I was thinking like, but there will always be men that would want to have sex with you. So how do you feel useless? There is no woman that wants to have sex with me. And I was thinking, I was growing up with the belief, that's what we all were taught back then, that men and women are the same, that we are exactly the same. And all the women said it as well. Oh yeah, we're exactly the same. There's nothing, like we are all near the same way and we're all the same. And so I was thinking like, okay, do you want to have sex then? Because I want to have sex. Let's go have sex. They were like, no, I don't want to have sex. I was like, so like, I didn't understand how we are the same thing. If we are the same thing, then I'm just really not attractive. And I got so confused when I saw the most beautiful girls in school, in my class, going with the ugliest men in school, in my class. Then later I understood that it was confidence that they had, but they were still ugly. They had confidence. And so we're not the same. It took me so long to learn that confidence is similar to beauty. Like we men, we value beauty, women. But women don't value beauty in men so much. They value confidence more than being pretty. And so that's really confused me in my life, especially as a kid. And then another thing is men in sexual value or in dating value become the best version of them when they're around 30 years old. Right? They're making good money. That's where all the women want you. That's where you have the most amount of options. And so when you're just 18, you have no value at all because you have no money, no confidence. You're just new to the world. Nothing is with you, really. But then on the other side, women, when they're 18, that's where their value is at the highest, right? 18, 20, 24. And so I was seeing all those older men that wanted to be with girls my age, and I was like, this is not fair. This doesn't seem fair. It's like me going with younger women. I found it always so dirty, so not ethical, so not fair. And it took me so much time to understand that women value different things than men, because I was thinking they value the same thing. Like, I was always like, go for someone in your league. Men don't really want someone. As a man, when you're 30, you don't want someone who's 30 as well. Or from my experience and my friend's experience, and from the books that I'm reading. Because the sexual value is the highest when you're fertile, the most fertile, and that's 18 years old, 20 years old. That's when they get the most pregnant. And so it's unconscious, all those things. So yeah, I remember having this feeling of being completely worthless to society from a dating perspective and from a business perspective, because I wanted to be a DJ, but no one cared about that, and no one wanted me to play for them. And when I played for them, they would just leave. Like when I played for school, they would just leave. I had the biggest speakers, I had the biggest controller and all the fancy stuff, but I didn't understand humans, so they left. And they went to play music in the different place with their small speakers because they could control it. And in dating as well, all my funny thing, I was the nice guy. I was the gay friend, they even called me sometimes, for the girls. I was just around them. I was happy to be around them. Of course, I always wanted to be with them, but I never had a confidence to say that or to be that or to do anything about it. So they were just treating me as a gay friend. And then they started calling me the gay friend. That's where I was like, okay, no, I'm not gonna be that. That's like, everyone is making fun of me right now. So it was too late. And that's where I started taking distance, because I was humiliated, learning all the lessons the hard way. Yeah, so that's where I felt completely useless. And then I saw the pretty girls that I was friends with, or the prettiest girls, go with the ugliest guys in school, and I just didn't understand it. I just lost it. I was like, I don't understand life at all. I have nothing to live for. I don't understand anything. I'm so confused, and having no confidence at all, and having my whole class make fun of me because I'm not good at politics and I'm really dumb in politics, and always asking me politics questions to show everyone else how dumb I am, lower my confidence completely. Now, the reason I started this book is because I moved to Bali, and that's where I met a lot of entrepreneurs, really successful entrepreneurs. To give you context, I wanted to be around entrepreneurs my whole life. That was like a community that I was really looking for. And the funny thing is, that was the first time I felt like a community, and that was the first time that I met people who make $1 million a month, or like super successful people my age as well. And so it's all niche, and so we can speak about all the things that we want to. We really go deep into, like, when you have a bunch of people who all think the same, you can go into extreme places. The funny, beautiful thing was that I met their people. I met one friend, for example. He was making $1 million a month, $1 million USD a month. That's like a lot of money. He told me last month he was making $400,000 with 10,000 followers and creating content online. And I was like, there's no way. Like, how is that possible? Anyway, I felt instantly a little bit like, oh my god, this guy is a million times above me. I was making no money then. I was, before that, as a photographer, I was making 20k a month or 10k a month. But how we connected, and how, like, one way that I could connect to a lot of people was being very authentic with my dating life and women and things like that. And so that's how we connected. So I asked him, like, some advice on dating and advice with women and things like that. And he actually ended up, I have a whole recording of his whole funnel. And that's the beautiful thing. It's like, men, we think about it as a whole funnel. In his business, he creates his own funnel. He's like getting a lot of clients, attracting them with the right messaging, and then getting them into like indirect way to want to buy from him, right? Because you cannot come to someone and say, hey, do you want to pay me? Or do you want to buy from me? No, it doesn't work like that. And it's the same beautiful thing as you cannot go to a woman and be like, hey, do you want to have sex with me? It's the two things men want. And also the funny thing is, it's the two things you cannot speak about on the table with your family. You don't speak about money, you don't speak about sex, right? It's the two things that are illegal. But it's the two things that most people are interested in. I just dated a 19 years old girl in Bali, from Canada. The only thing I love speaking about is money and sex. And she was like, oh my god, that's exactly what I love speaking about as well. Even though she was so like behaved and don't. Anyway, so I think that's like what people are mostly curious about, money and sex. So that's another reason I'm writing this book. We started actually a community because I felt so much of a community there. And that's where also my confidence started growing a lot. We started a community of entrepreneurs there. So I had those cool friends that I actually met on the yacht week, but then I saw them in Bali again. So we met a festival in Croatia, 100 yachts touring together. He was the craziest guy there. There was a meme about him. He got like millions of views where he was dancing. He looks like a German guy who did a lot of drugs, and he's dancing like this with his body. And it's like, there's a lot of super fun videos of him. A lot of people would probably recognize him. But then I saw him at a co-working space and was like, hey, we were together at this festival, and then we started speaking, we really connected, and it was like, hey, join us for this community, or join us for dinner. Every Saturday we go to a dinner. So I was like, yeah, let's go. And I started inviting as well people, things like that. Then there was one guy there, a guy from South Africa, and he was an entrepreneur as well. And he really liked like some things about like how I grew my social media. I was really curious about it. But then what I really liked about him was that he told me that he goes every day to the beach and he has to speak to 10 women a day. Otherwise he cannot go home. So he has to go every day to the beach for an hour and to offer 10 women to give them their phone number. And so it was so funny. It was amazing. So it was like, oh, how many leads do you get a day? What's your conversion rate? You ask 10 women for their number. How much numbers do you actually get? And then how many of those do you actually go on a date with? How many of those do you kiss? How many of those do you have sex with? And go. And it's the same thing in business. And it made me laugh because it was like exactly the same thing, especially when we were businessmen. And he was like, yeah, everyone asks the same questions, right? You treat dating like business, and it's a beautiful thing. But then, like, you might think, oh, but it's not so transactional. Like, business is so transactional. And I don't think that's true. I think the best business people do business in a very romantic and charming way. You can be charming in business as well. I had one time this guy who wanted to work for me, Eastern European. I think they're amazing. He wanted to work for me, and he told me, like when you hire people, you have a lot of people who want to work for you because you pay the money. Everyone wants money. And so he was like, hey, Sam, I really want to work with you. And I think we can do great things. I think we can do this and this together. Here's my offer. Let me work for you for a whole week for free. And then you can decide if we work together, if it's worth paying for it. That's one of the most charming things ever. It's like buying a girl flowers and doing a lot of things for her. It's okay, why not? Let's go. Of course, he needs to be good for me to hire him. And the same in dating, right? You need to be like worth it. But there is ways to do business in a charming way. What OpenAI, ChatGPT does, right? They give everything for free. It's free. ChatGPT is free. You can try it. That's charming. Everything is for free. So everyone uses it, right? That's why they're so successful. And so that's one of the business principles that we're going to talk about in this book. Then I had this guy who was making $1 million a month. And I was really nervous speaking to him because I was intimidated. I was like, how is it possible? How do you make so much money? How is it like, how am I even talking to you? That such a different level. It was authentic. And what connected us was speaking about women. And he showed me his whole funnel with women. I have 2 recordings of him of exactly what he does with women. The funny thing. So I'll tell you, actually. Connected with really big entrepreneurs just by speaking about women with them. That's the one point where we connected really good, and then business just became much easier. So that's one trick that I have on how to network with really big people. Speak about women. You both have the same problems. So he told me, okay, the first thing he does when he matches with someone on Tinder, the first message he sends is, I knew we would match. Her name, 2 dots. That's exactly what he sends. And then he says, they always, like for him, he's a good looking guy. For me, not always. And also for good looking guys, they also struggle with getting girls. Yes, they have more options, but they still want the best of the best, so they also struggle. But yeah, me as a less good looking guy or a shorter guy, it's harder, so not everyone answers that message, but it's a good message. And so then they always, or he says 100% of the time they answer, why do you think that? Why is that? And so for me it would be 50%. And so then you say, you're low-key adorable, finger crossed, you're not a serial killer. And so you're not looking desperate here. You're giving a compliment, pulling back. It's push and pull a little bit. And so that works really good. And so they're like, oh, cute. Or I'm not a serial killer. Or maybe you are. Or whatever the answer. And then the next question you ask is, how adventurous are you? Because you instantly want to take it into a date. No one wants to talk on Tinder. We want to meet. But of course, women are more selective with who they pick because they have so much options. And so you ask them, how adventurous are you? And they're like, ooh, I'm very adventurous. And it gets their mind like, okay, what is he going to do with me? Where is he going to take me? What are we going to do together? What is he thinking of? So that's a good thing. And then we will probably say very or something like that. Then you eventually want to lead into a date. You want to speak a little bit more, but you eventually want to be like, hey, let's go for drinks, or let's go for dinner, or let's grab a drink at this time. I have some ideas, or I have something to show you. I know a spot, or things like that you want to write. I don't remember exactly after that, but the first 3 sentences, those are his golden things that he gave me that I took. And then he has a whole funnel of how to get girls into bed as well. And that is, he would always, and he's really rich, so he bought a lot of courses and he invested in, he knows the best information. So you want to tell them before the date, hey, bring like strawberries or bring something from the supermarket or do something for me. I think something like that he mentioned. I don't actually remember exactly. But then always at the end of the date, you want to be like, oh, I forgot this one thing at home. Let me just grab it. And then you go to your house. And he would plan the date around his house so he can just go to the supermarket before. Or he would do something with the supermarket around his house, so they would go there and they would meet there, and he would say, buy some strawberries, I'll tell you later why. And then it would be like, oh, let's just put them in the fridge or something like that. And then he would go to his house and then they would be there, feel more comfortable, then we'll go for a date, and then it will be much easier to bring them home or things like that. A whole funnel, like every step was super detailed. He had everything super structured. It worked for him. He had a whole strategy around it. And that's the beautiful thing. It's exactly like business. Business is exactly the same. When you are a super millionaire or a super successful business guy, you have a whole funnel. Exactly, like before someone buys from me, they need to have those beliefs. They need to have those problems. And I need to change their beliefs around this. And I need to show them that this. And if all of those things make sense for them, they would want to buy from me. So this is exactly the funnel. First thing they see is this ad. Then I need to send them to this longer video. Then I need to send them to that, right? So it's all those beliefs. And it's the same with women. She needs to think I'm the best option she can have this night or this week. She needs to feel understood and heard. She needs to feel like it can improve her life. She needs to laugh, right? One interesting thing I learned from him, I was always like chasing money, thinking, okay, once I have money, I will get girls. And that's such a big lie. That's crazy. I made money. I have a lot of Instagram followers, 138,000 followers. I don't get more girls from that. I get a little bit more girls from that, but not so much. And so the funny thing that I learned from him is that when girls would ask him, what do you do for a living? Then he would not even say, I'm super successful, I'm rich. He would not say even what he does. He would just say, I'm an OnlyFans model. I sell online. And that would make them laugh, and they would never know what he does. But then they would see him riding like a super bike or a supercar and being at his $6,000 a month and things like that, and they would be like, okay, I don't need to know what he does. He's successful. And so I always thought you need to have a deep conversation with girls, with women, and you need to tell them your purpose. You need to tell them like that you're a good person, that you're not a scammer, and you're successful with it, and people value you. You need to brag. But no, they actually don't like that. They just like to have fun. So a lot of beliefs I had around women were completely wrong, and that's what I'm going to talk a lot about in this book. The principles of the book, the end principles, is if you know what other people value, that's where you see the most success. So if you understand what your clients really want, what they really desire, what you actually sell, like sometimes you think they want just photos or you think they just want this, but they actually want status, right? So if you sell that status or that experience instead of the photos, that's where you make the most amount of money because you understand them better than they understand what they want. And it's the same with women. Oh yeah, why are you in this dating app? I just wanna not be alone. That's what they tell you. But actually, they want much more than that. They want like a husband, or they want to live their best life. They want to be adventurous. They want to have fun. They want to feel understood. They want to feel heard. They want to get attention. There's a lot more that goes into that.